there's Jackie, a sweet friend. Jackie and I taught together, also with Miss Rivera, at a charter school in Pompano Beach. And so it was through conversations with Jackie that her husband Keith is here today. Keith is a career FBI special agent with 30 years of law enforcement experience, conducting, directing, and managing critical incidents, complex investigations, high-risk apprehensions, personal protection detail, and security operations. Whew. A member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's elite hostage rescue team for 15 years. That just made me have to stop and go, thank you so much. I mean, amazing. So he has held senior team leader positions, operations and training leader, operator, and principal relief supervisor. So middle schoolers, do you see you have a very accomplished professional in front of you who chose to be with you today to share this information? That's a really special gift. And alongside him, we have Corporal Brian Broughton, and he's been with the Martin County Sheriff's Office for 31 years, including 27 years as a detective in the Special Victims Unit. That also made me stop in my place and go, thank you, Lord. Brian is also on the FBI task force, assisting the FBI in child exploitation investigations and computer and cell phone forensics. Corporal Broughton is a subject matter expert on cyber safety and security for children and adults. So he's spent a couple hours on the road this morning to be with us today. So, awesome scholars, let's give these great gentlemen our undivided attention. And welcome, let's give them a big welcome as well.
Good morning. How are you guys doing today? You like being in here, or would you rather be in class? Here? All right, good, good. Well, as God calls us to do every day, everything we relate in our lives relates to what God directs us in the Bible. So today we're going to start off with Peter 4:10. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others. And just being here in this school with your parents providing that and your teachers and all the effort they give, that's a gift. And the thing that we're going to talk about today is a gift as well. How many of you have one of these? Everybody pretty much? Got a computer? You have access to a computer? Well, those also are gifts from God. And what God calls us to do is to be stewards of all the things that He gives us. So it's important that we know how to use them and how to protect ourselves and others with them. And by use them, I just don't mean go on it, push the buttons, and look around and send text or, Snapchat or whatever else you guys are doing to your friends. But it's important today, and my partner Brian today, who's a subject matter expert, is going to help you guys hopefully be able to understand better how these things work. If you have any questions, let's make sure we get them answered today so you can go through your schooling here and as you progress safely in any way. Brian.
Good morning. Thank you so much for allowing me to come here to speak with you today. As they said earlier, I have spent the majority of my career in the Special Victims Unit up just north of here in the Martin County Sheriff's Office. And my responsibility and my challenges are to protect you guys, protect young people from harm, from the real world. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there are bad people, and many of these people look to do harm to young people. And my job is to obviously protect you from those individuals and obviously to bring those people to justice. And so that's been one of my goals, and the reason that I've been in this unit for so long, because it's something that I really enjoy. As a detective in the Special Victims Unit, one of the other responsibilities I have is computer and cell phone forensics. So let's say a bad guy, we seize his phone or computer. I'm the one who goes through that device and pulls out all the information that's important in the case. Well, I also look through victims' phones, witnesses' phones, and computers, which includes young people. So I see some of the challenges that you guys are faced with every day with technology and just utilizing your phones. And sometimes you kind of get in your own way as well. It's not just the bad guy that you see and hear about on the news. Sometimes you guys are doing some stuff that you need to be more aware of, okay? Sharing information online, and sometimes harassing and possibly bullying your peers. And so what I want to do today is talk about some of the challenges that you guys are facing, particularly online, particularly as Keith had said earlier, with this thing right here. We all have one of these. And I think a lot of problems come with having one of these. So I want to give you some cases that I've talked to a little bit about how you can protect yourself, particularly when it comes to online activity. If you happen to become a victim in some capacity online, how you can report that information and how you can document it and find out who's responsible for that. I'm glad some parents are here today because I like to talk to parents. You know, we always talk about software to protect our kids. We put it on our phones or computers and stuff like that, or monitoring software, or parents can monitor stuff. But forget about all that. I think the most important thing, and that's why I'm glad parents are here, is that when I get a chance to talk to parents, I think that a lot of things that happen to kids, particularly online, are underreported, meaning you guys don't report it. And you got to think, why? Something bad just happened. An inappropriate text or picture was sent to a child. Why isn't this person speaking up and talking about it? Well, it's because if they went to their parent and they go, Mom, Dad, look, somebody just sent me this. Well, what you think would happen, and it's understandable, the parents would say, well, that's never going to happen again, and they would take the phone from that child, and you're not going to have a phone until you're 22 years old, right? And so you're never going to have Snapchat. You're never going to have Instagram. And so I get it. So when I talk to parents, this is what I tell them. Be glad that your child came to you with a problem. Don't be upset with him. Be glad because they felt comfortable enough to come to the parent and tell them they have an issue. And the parent should reward them. You know what? You did the right thing. I'm glad you came to me. Now let's get to the bottom of it. Let's call somebody like Detective Broughton. We'll find out who did this, and we'll make them responsible. So this is the challenge that I see with you guys, and we're going to talk about the importance of reporting this activity. So I think to start off this conversation, we need to talk about how you guys are utilizing computers, cell phones, social media, and so let's go to the next slide. So I think a big part that I wish I had when I was your age. Now, obviously, me and mostly your parents, and especially your grandparents, didn't have an iPhone. We didn't have smartphones. We probably didn't even have cell phones, to be honest, when we were your age as a teenager. As we got a little older, we may have had a beeper. We may have had a flip phone. But obviously, we didn't have the technology that you guys have available to you today. You guys are in a great place, particularly with homework, right? I think homework just in and of itself, first of all, that's a drag, homework. But you have it so easy now. If you have a science project, if you have a math problem, there's apps, there's so many places on the internet that you guys can directly go to and get that information, get the freshest, most up-to-date information. Me, when I was your age, I went to my grandmother's house and I had to look up in World Book Encyclopedia because she had a set of those. Any of the parents remember those? Yes. So that's what we had. We had to read a book, and usually that book was outdated by the time we were reading it, right? You guys can go right on, do a Google or a Bing search, and get that freshest, newest information available to you for your reports. So that's a big plus that you guys have that we didn't. thing. Let me see a show of hands. How many people, whether it's on their phones or on their computers or PlayStations or Xboxes, how many people are playing games online? Okay. How many people, show of hands, Fortnite? You got Fortnite fans? How about Minecraft? We got Minecraft fans, RuneScape, Call of Duty, that kind of stuff? Sure. So, in and of itself, gaming is fun, right? Particularly if you're gaming with friends and family, people you know in real life. The problems that I see is when individuals are gaming and you're gaming with, many times when you're connected to the internet, you could be gaming with anybody in the world. Unfortunately, and I'll show you a news article here shortly, is that many times, we talked about the bad people that are out there, they go to where kids are, right? Back in the day, it used to be the old dirty old man and the rain slicker would hang out at the playgrounds. Well, they're not doing that anymore. Well, they may be, but they're kind of obvious, right? No, they're hanging out where kids are hanging out. They're going to the digital playground. They're going where kids congregate, where they're online. And so many times they're going to some of these gaming areas where you guys are playing. And you might be thinking you're playing with a peer or playing with somebody your own age. And sometimes that's not the case. These individuals will pose as a young person to kind of lower your inhibitions and get you kind of reeled in, and then maybe move you off from the game to another chatting site, such as Snapchat or Instagram, something like that. And then that's when the bad things start to happen. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Some other things that I think you guys have really got a hold of and really grasped is media, right? You know, back in the day, we had cassettes, Laserdisc, if you remember that. 8 tracks, anybody remember 8 tracks? Yeah, we got a couple of parents back there. Cassettes, physical media, right? CDs, DVDs. We're all getting away from that. Everything's kind of streaming now. And with that, and with these devices right here, you guys are making videos, YouTube, TikTok videos, all the fun stuff out there, right? Sharing that information and sharing those experiences with your peers and friends. I've seen some budding artists making their own music with GarageBand and stuff like that. So you have all these tools and applications that are available to you guys that obviously we didn't have as teenagers. And lastly, I think the most important thing, and one of the things that you guys do the most with your phones, is to keep in touch and share information with your friends, right? That's one of the reasons when we talked about if you had an issue, you wouldn't go to your parents, because this is your lifeline, right, to your friends. And if they took this away, even for a day, you'd be really upset. I know it, okay? So that's the issue, because you're always keeping in touch with your friends. You're sharing information, sharing experiences, going to the beach, going to a party, going on vacations, finding out what your friends are doing after school. I get it. So, the internet, cell phones, computers, you guys have it great, you know, all this great technology. Next slide. But with all of this great technology that you guys have, it's very, very powerful. It is. If we have any Spider-Man fans out there, there was a scene when Uncle Ben, right, Peter Parker's uncle, he realized that Peter Parker was special and he had these amazing powers. And right before Uncle Ben passed away, he told Peter Parker, who he knew as Spider-Man, the following thing. He said, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's exactly what I want to tell you guys. With great power, these things right here, very powerful. The things that you're allowed to do with these things, the things that you can share with these devices, very powerful. But I want you to be responsible with that, with these things, right? With computers, and how you handle yourself. And at the end of this presentation, it's all going to come together, and you're going to know the reason why I want you to be responsible, okay? Just remember that. Keep that in the back of your head. Why should you be responsible? with all this great, powerful devices you now have the ability to use. Next slide. So with all these great things and all these powerful things that the internet and these smartphones have to offer, obviously there are some bad things that are out there that can and may have already affected you in some way. These are some of the things that I've experienced in my career on a variety of different levels. The first one, and you probably see this in the news probably more than you should, but there are, like I said, adults. There are individuals out there that are looking to do you harm online, whether that's to get that provocative picture from you, whether that's to meet you away from your house and school at a mall or somewhere else offline. These individuals, known as predators, they've had many news specials concerning these individuals. Back several years ago, they had a on Dateline called To Catch a Predator, and week after week, they had individuals showing up at a house with cops hiding in the bushes, and these people would come to this house thinking they were going to meet a young person. And so time and time again, they would show up, and time again, they would be arrested. At the time, I was doing chat investigations. I was that underage girl posing on social media and having these bad people talk to me instead of talking to you. And I would identify these individuals, and I would bring them to justice. And so I kept thinking in the back of my head, oh man, quit showing this on the news. These people are going to go away. I'm going to be out of business. They're not going to do this anymore. But believe it or not, no matter how many times they showed this on the news, these people just kept it up. It's a sickness that these individuals have, and they keep showing up time and time again. So this problem isn't going away. In fact, it's probably getting worse. Privacy concerns. One thing I also see, as like I said, I process cell phones, particularly from young people, is that many times when I'm reviewing someone's social media footprint, I see that many times they're sharing too much information. It's fun to share some information with your friends, right? That's what the internet's for. That's what your social media accounts are for. But sometimes you're sharing too much information, and you're sharing to everyone. One of the goals that I have during my talks with young people is limit that information. I know it's kind of cool to have 400 Instagram followers or 500 Snapchat followers. I get that, okay? It's kind of a status symbol, okay? So I'm not dumb. I get that. But in reality, do you know 400 people? No. Your parents don't know 400 people. So what I suggest is the people that you are sharing information with, let that be people you know in real life. Friends, families, okay? If your parents can look at your buddy list on Instagram and go, who's this, Bobby C, 123, who's that? And you're like, I don't know. He just asked to follow me a couple days ago, and I accepted him. You don't even know who that is. It could be somebody that's looking to find out who you are, where you are, and seeing your post when you're sharing this information, they could be out to do you harm. And so I want you to be careful. I've had Snapchat investigations where I had a 27-year-old guy from Jupiter Farms would pose as a young person. He would then infiltrate and get accepted by somebody on Snapchat because these young girls, in middle school actually, would just accept anybody, okay? And so they accepted this stranger, and later I talked to these girls. I said, why did you accept this guy? Who is he? She goes, I just thought he was a guy on the basketball team. He had a name similar, and I just thought it was him. Well, then this guy started sending horrible, horrible pornography to these young girls. And in addition to that, he would ask for nude images of these girls. And these girls would kind of blow him off like, get out of here, creep. But then he would take a screenshot of their location, particularly on Snapchat. If your locations is on, you can find out where you're at. And if these girls are actually communicating from their house, he would take a screenshot and then send them back a screenshot and go, I know where you live. Here's proof. He just sent them back a screenshot. And if you don't do what I say, I'm going to come to your house and kill you, okay? He did this just locally. We had 15 victims in a couple different middle schools. And those are the ones who just reported it. Remember, I told you some of this stuff's underreported? Then there was victims in Canada, Ohio, North Carolina, because it's the internet, right? You could talk to anybody in the world. And so at the end of the day, I arrested him. We did a federal FBI search warrant on his house, and he had underage pornography on his phone. He had all these text messages, all this horrible stuff, right? So at the end of the day, he got 50 years in prison for harassing young people like yourselves. And so, thank you. And so, like I said, know who's on your buddy list. Know who you're sharing this information with. And what am I talking about sharing? So, sharing your phone number, sharing where you're at, sharing your location, sharing what school you go to. Just be very, very careful about the information you're sharing, because sometimes you don't know who you're sharing it with. Two other phenomenons that I've seen with the invention of the smartphone in the hands of young people is that it's way, way too easy to bully someone. Back when I was your age, when we had a bullying incident, it was usually some big kid picking on a little kid. There was maybe a scuffle at the playgrounds, and then that was kind of it. It kind of like, you know, it was over and done with. Sometimes that person that you got in a fight with was your friend a couple days later, you know. The problem with bullying today, particularly on social media, is that it follows you. It follows you home and it reaches a much wider audience. We're going to talk a little bit more in detail about bullying and what you can do to report that. The other thing I see, and once again, it's something that we didn't have the opportunity to do, maybe because we didn't have cell phones. So I can't tell you if it was gonna be something that is going on back when I was a teenager, if we had the ability to do it, but sexting. So some of this conversation we'll have, it's a little adult, but I think looking out at the audience here, I think you guys can have this kind of adult conversation. And basically what sexting is, it's when usually a boyfriend or girlfriend will communicate with each other through text messages or social media DMs or something like that. And at some point in their relationship, they decide to share intimate photographs or videos of themselves with the other person. Well, that sounds all well and good if you're in that relationship, but I can tell you right now, my experience, time and time again, is those private pictures and videos never, ever, ever stay between those two people. I can tell you, boys get pictures of girls, they're going to share it with their buddies. Sometimes girls get pictures of their boyfriends, they're going to share it with their girlfriends. It happens. Also, you know, we talked about cyberbullying. Many times these intimate pictures and videos can be used to bully other students. And so we're going to talk a little bit in detail in this conversation with sexting. And then lastly, I think it goes without saying, I wish there was more regulation, particularly when young people go online, but we are all curious by nature, so I get some of this. You may go down that rabbit hole and look for some inappropriate things that you may have heard about online. Mainly what I'm talking about here is pornography. Pornography online is too prevalent. It's too easy to find, right? There's no safe blocks to hide it behind or anything like that. You don't have to show a driver's license or anything. It's just out there. And I've had exposure of pornography to many, many young, I mean, I'm talking elementary age kids, and they don't even know what they're looking at. They're not old enough, their minds aren't old enough to grasp what they're looking at. And so sometimes they're acting out this stuff at 7 and 8 years old just because they saw it in a video. They don't even know what they're looking at. So that's another issue that I see, is that sometimes young people will go looking for it, but many times it's just there. You're going to accidentally stumble upon pornography. So These are some of the risks and safety issues I see with all that great, powerful things that the internet and cell phones have to offer. Next slide.
This was a sting operation that caught a lot of parents' attention. Predators using popular games to lure kids into dangerous situations. So we asked the world's most popular gamer about it, and if your kids don't always listen to you, maybe they're going to listen to him.
If you don't recognize the colorful hair or the excited laugh,
Are you serious?
yeah, your kids probably will. This is Tyler Blevins, better known as Ninja Online. He's the most famous Fortnite player in the world.
Rockets early game!
While he's streaming to millions of fans, a lot of times he's also giving other gamers important advice.
You don't know this person, so don't trust them. Don't give them any personal information.
Those words after a recent undercover investigation in New Jersey netted 24 arrests. Accused sexual predators using some of the world's most popular games like Fortnite and Minecraft to prey on teens. All charged with second-degree child luring, all but one, a registered sex offender, released on bail. Among those arrested, a police sergeant allegedly using a messaging app called Kik to set up a meeting with a girl he thought was 15. He's now suspended, authorities said, and on house arrest.
Anything that gives strangers access to children potentially through the guise of a game has the potential to be dangerous to a child if it's misused by the person.
This year, with over 125 million players logging onto Fortnite and more than 250 million copies of Minecraft sold, experts say virtual worlds are becoming playgrounds where predators can easily blend in.
It's scary because, he's right there, and I'm not really paying attention to it. And obviously I should be.
Experts say parents should not only talk to their children about the dangers, but also set some ground rules about playing online. Never share personal information or photos. Only play with people you know in real life. Only allow gameplay in a room where parents can overhear and never behind closed doors. And disable chat functions whenever possible. We reached out to Minecraft, Fortnite, and Kik. So far, only Microsoft has responded regarding Minecraft, saying, helping keep kids safer online is a priority for Microsoft, and we provide parental controls for devices and gaming that help parents choose the content, communication, and sharing settings that are right for their families. Parents also need to be aware of what their kids are actually doing online, making sure it really is just fun and games.
Fortnite is meant to just be played. It's a video game. If someone ever tries to meet you outside of the game, that's a no-go.
All right, so that's one red flag, Gotti. What are some of the other specific red flags that parents should be talking to their kids about?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Craig. When are your parents coming back? If a kid is asked that on a game, somebody asking their kids for pictures, if they get questions like that, then those are immediate red flags, and they know that they need to stop the chat and tell their parents what's going on.
Right,
Craig?
useful tips there. Gotti Schwartz there. Now, Gotti, thank you.
So, one of the red flags, particularly if you're in a gaming situation, a gaming environment, is that if you're playing with someone, and obviously many of these have chat functions, sometimes you could even talk to them with a microphone, is that sometimes they're going to want to take you from the gaming environment and move you to some other platform where they can talk to you, whether that's text messaging or DMing on Snapchat or Instagram. So that should be a red flag right there, right? If someone you're just playing a simple game of Fortnite, and next thing you know, hey, let's go over to Snapchat. What's your Snapchat name? And next thing you know, you're over there. Why are you over there, right? You just came here to play Fortnite, and now they want to share information with you outside of that, right? And so those are some flags. If somebody starts to have conversations with you and ask you personal questions during a gaming situation, that should also raise some flags. And once again, I think this goes back to know who you're gaming, know who you're communicating with. Don't just open up your whole life to strangers. Next slide. So the next thing I want to talk about is cyberbullying. And cyberbullying, obviously when I was your age, once again, I go back, talk about when I was your age, is that we had bullying, of course. Bullying's been around forever. I'm not going to deny that and say this is just something new that's happened in the last couple of years. Bullying has been around forever. People would get picked on for a variety of reasons, right? They're too tall, they wear glasses, they got freckles, they got hair. they're too heavy, they're too skinny, whatever. I mean, people would pick on other people for a variety of different reasons. Doesn't make it right, obviously. But I was your age, we didn't have the platforms that you have available to you today. We don't have social media. We didn't have cell phones. And so when I had a situation, or there was a situation with someone at school, it happened during those classes. Maybe you saw that person, and that was kind of it. It kind of ended there, right? You finally got on the school bus, you went home, and you were safe. You were with your family, you were with your neighborhood friends, and the kind of bullying ended, right? You had teachers and stuff at school that could maybe protect you from this bully and deal with the situation, but it didn't follow you home, right? And that's the problem we have with cyberbullying. Next slide. So cyberbullying can take different types of scenarios, right? It could happen on text messaging. It could be a mean post. It can be a mean DM. It could be somebody responding to a picture and making these horrible comments, or somebody posting a picture and tagging you in it. I mean, it can take all kinds of different faces of cyberbullying. But the problem at the end of the day is that with social media, bullying and cyberbullying can spread much faster, like wildfire, because you just put it out there and it's just so easy to send this information out and post it, and then somebody shares it, then somebody retweets it, and then somebody reshares it there, and it just goes on and on and on. And then when you get home, you're getting these messages and your friends are telling you, oh my God, did you see on Instagram what somebody said about you? And then it goes on and on and on. It keeps festering, right? It never stops. And so that is an issue that I see with cyberbullying. So I'm going to give you some ways to identify cyberbullying and then report it. Y'all have ways to report it. What I want to tell you is that we have certain applications and stuff in our public schools in Martin County where you can specifically go online and you can report cyberbullying and that type of harassment. Here, I suggest that pick that trusted adult, whether that's your parents, whether that's a teacher or counselor here at school, someone that you trust as an adult. Go to that person, okay? If you're experiencing some type of bullying issue, if your friend, speak up for your friend. If your friend is experiencing some type of harassment or bullying issue, speak up for that person as well. Next slide.
Cyberbullying, whether it's done online or over a cell phone, can take families by surprise. But if your kids are texting, sharing photos, and posting comments, it's important to have a conversation with them about what to do if they become a target of online harassment. Here are 5 tips to share with your kids about dealing with cyberbullies. First, don't respond or retaliate. If you're angry or hurt, you might say things you'll regret later. Plus, retaliation only prolongs the problem and doesn't solve it. Second, block the bully. Block phone numbers, screen names, and email addresses, and remove the person from your buddy or friends list. Third, save the evidence. Print out or take screenshots of abusive messages and keep them as proof. Fourth, report it. Most websites have rules against cyberbullying. You can usually find information on how to report abuse in the site's community guidelines. And finally, tell a trusted adult. Telling a teacher or a parent isn't tattling, it's standing up for yourself. And even if the bullying occurs online, your school probably has rules against it. For more cyberbullying prevention tips and advice, visit us at commonsense.org.
For the parents that are here at that website, commonsense.org, it's a great resource for parents. They discuss and talk about different applications that, let's say you find on your child's cell phone, like what is the house party? and you go on here, and they have a whole review on what this application is. What is Omegle? What is Kik? What is Snapchat? And they have videos and information explaining that. They also review books, and they also review movies. Your child comes to you, hey, me and my buddies want to go see a certain movie, and you're like, well, I don't know if it's, if it's appropriate, and then you can maybe see a review about that movie on that website. So commonsense.org, I think, is a great resource for you guys. Next slide. So one of the things that it said in that video is our job, particularly my job, but many people like me that do the same job that I do, is to protect you guys, right? And many times we're presented with an incident that is reported to us. And I can tell you right now, many times it's way too late when you do report this information. So we're playing catch up at this point. The information is already out there. The mean tweet or the post, the picture, it's out there, okay? We realize that by the time law enforcement gets involved. But at least we now know where it's at, what it is, and we're looking into it, trying to get it taken down and find out who's responsible. But what can you do if you experience something like this? Well, first of all, I want you to save the evidence, whether that's taking a screenshot, whether that's printing out a text, something like that, save it, because we all know that information can be posted and information can quickly be taken down, right? And so as soon as something happens, I want you to document that. Take a screenshot, particularly of the user and maybe the content itself. And so then report it. Report it, report it, report it. That is the biggest thing I want you to do, because if law enforcement doesn't know about it, if a trusted adult in your life doesn't know about it, we can't stop or even begin to stop that behavior. And I can tell you that if it's happening to you, it's more than likely happening to your peers. And so report it. So I want you to save the evidence. At the end, I want you to at least report it, right? But the easy thing to do is, remember I told you about who are the people on your buddy list that you're sharing information with? If there's somebody on your list that you're sharing information with, and all of a sudden they're doing this harassment, they're harassing you or bullying you, you can block that person where they can't communicate with you anymore, they can't see your information anymore. That's one of the ways you can do that. Block their cell phone number, block their username. The other thing is, and if you have to do this, it's fine. These are all free. Just tell your friends, you know what, my account got hacked, and so I open up a new account, and here's my new information, and just include the friends that you know and trust for that new account. You can always open up a new account. Sometimes it's a pain because you have 400 followers, right? We talked about those 400 followers, who they really are. But if you have to, you can open up a new Snapchat, a new Instagram. And so that is something that, that is available to you. But at the end of the day, I want you to report it, okay? Because if we don't know about it, we can't help you. And unfortunately, that behavior is going to continue until we do know about it. Next slide. Okay, remember I talked about early on that we're going to have an adult conversation? This is the part where we're going to have an adult conversation. So in my career, with the invention of the smartphone, it is becoming a lot more easier to flirt with your boyfriend or girlfriend. And flirt, I mean, it's not just, wink, wink or something like that, and a little giggle as you're walking to class. There's actually young people that like to share private pictures of themselves with their boyfriend or girlfriend. And the problem with that, and there's many problems, the problem with that is that once you send that picture or video to your boyfriend or girlfriend, you no longer have control of that picture or video. You no longer can decide who gets to see that picture or video. It's out of your hands now, right? You've already sent it. And so I would guess that when you did send that picture, that you're trusting that that relationship that you have with your boyfriend or girlfriend, that they're going to keep that private because maybe they've told you that. But my experience is that they never do. Sometimes those relationships last a couple weeks, last a couple months, maybe a year if you're lucky, you're young people, you're having different relationships, right? So that relationship, you might break up with that boyfriend or girlfriend. Well, now they've got nudes of you. You think they're just going to delete it because you broke up? Nope, not going to happen. So, things that I've seen when somebody does send private pictures of themselves to someone else and they get out is obviously humiliation. Nobody wants to be naked in front of the whole world, right? And so humiliation is one of the things that I see happening. I see this also as a bullying mechanism. Many times if somebody gets a naked picture or a compromising picture of someone and they don't like that person for whatever reason, they then share that on social media just to harass and bully that person. One of the big things I'm going to talk about, I have a segment on this coming up in a couple of slides, is blackmail. It's called sextortion, where somebody has a picture of you. They will threaten to share that picture with others, usually your family and friends from your buddy list, if you don't send them more pictures and more videos. Particularly, and I want all the young men in this room to listen up because I'm going to get to a segment. There's a huge, huge problem right now with young men and being extorted for additional images and or money. So also, I'm sure the school here, as with any school, has issues with the sharing of this kind of information because it's very disruptive. And like I said, it could cause harassment and emotional issues with someone who's affected by this. And lastly, police usually get involved. You're starting to share underage pornography out on the internet. It's illegal for anybody to possess this stuff, right? And so I arrest people and they go to jail. They become sex offenders for possessing pictures of young people. And so this is something you don't want to be involved in at all on any level, whether you're receiving it, sending it, or taking those pictures themselves. Next slide. And click.
8 things you and your teen need to know about sexting. Number 1, sexting is the sending or receiving of sexually explicit or sexually suggestive images, messages, or video. It usually happens digitally through text, emails, or instant messages. Number 2, there's no way to know exactly how many teens are sexting, but some studies show the number is as high as 20%. Number 3, teens who sext are more likely to engage in other sexual behaviors. Number 4, teens send sex to flirt, as a joke, or because they feel pressured. Number 5, disappearing messages can be copied, screen captured, or photographed and shared with others. Number 6, the consequences of sexting can include public humiliation, cyberbullying, school suspension, and even criminal charges. Number 7, if someone sends a sexy photo, the best response is to delete it. Sharing or saving it could lead to legal problems. And number 8, the best way to prevent sexting is to talk to your teens about it before it happens. For more information, visit commonsense.org.
I think the takeaway from that short video there is if you never take a picture anyways, none of that will ever happen. Nobody's going to ask you for more. Nobody's going to harass you over a picture that you didn't take. And so, once again, if you send that picture out there, right, you have no control of what happens to that picture, right? So if you never send that picture out there, you never take that picture, then potentially this can never happen to you. So I think prevention is, particularly when it comes to sexting, is the best remedy is to never take that picture to begin with. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, I shared it with my boyfriend or girlfriend, but it goes beyond that. There are individuals out there that you think you're talking to a peer or a minor or someone your own age, but that's not necessarily the case. Many times you could pose as anybody you want. Like I said, I've worked undercover investigations online looking for bad people that are out there to do harm to you guys. And do I look like a 13-year-old girl? I know a couple of you go, well, kinda. Just a big one. So I can pose as the 13-year-old girl. So imagine what these other individuals that are out to get these images and pictures from you do. This next video is going to show you kind of how that can happen. Go ahead.
Hey, Zach. It's me. I can't stop thinking about you. I know you've been waiting for this for a while. I wanted to give you something special. Who are you? Why are you doing this?
So, as you can see, it's pretty easy to pose as a young person. I actually arrested an individual who was doing this, and you're like, well, you know, I see webcams, you know, I know the other person is a young person, my age, and so I was okay with sharing some information. Well, I had a guy that I arrested, and what he was doing, he had a pre-recorded video of a young girl on a keyboard, right? And he just looped it back and forth, and that was his webcam. And he would present that. He'd go into chat rooms with video, and he would talk to young people, and they would look at their video, thinking they're looking at a webcam, a live webcam, and it's actually a pre-recorded video of a young girl just typing, looking up at the camera every once in a while and typing. And so these young people thought they were talking to this young girl. And during the course of the conversation, he would get that person to send them compromising pictures, and then he would save those. And by the time I got to him, he had a whole slew of young girls that he had taken pictures of, and they think they're sharing their naked pictures with someone live on a webcam, but it was a pre-recorded webcam. So even that, you know, you think you're talking to someone in person or on the phone, many times it may not even be that person. So at the end of the day, just don't share this information to begin with, this private, personal information. Now, the young men here, I want to talk to you guys and address you guys. If you take away anything that I'm about to tell you, it's this. There's no pretty girl on Snapchat that wants to see your junk. There isn't, okay? There is no pretty girl on Snapchat. There's no pretty girl on Instagram that wants to see your junk, okay? This next news article, and we get bombarded with these unfortunate investigations. And this is just in little old Martin County. I couldn't imagine what's going on down here in Broward and in Palm Beach, where there's a lot more people, a lot more activity online. We are getting bombarded with extortion. What happens is young men think they're meeting this pretty girl on Snapchat. This girl may even share naked pictures of herself. I say of herself, it's not her. And the young boys, young men, go, wow, she looks amazing. And then this person goes, oh, well, let me see what you look like. Show me some private pictures. And the boys would obviously share their private pictures with this person. And then immediately they go, okay, I have a picture of you. I'm going to share it with everybody on your buddy list. And they would know this because they're talking to you on Instagram or Snapchat, so they would have an idea of who your friends and family are. If you don't send me $500. Like, what? $500? I'm in sixth grade, seventh grade. I don't have $500. Kids are taking their parents' credit cards. Kids are working part-times at Publix or Tropical Smoothie, and they have some couple of dollars saved up, and they're PayPaling this person so they don't send images out to their family and friends. It happens time and time again. I just worked a case last week. This kid had saved up $500 from, he worked at Tropical Smoothie. That's why I mentioned Tropical Smoothie. And of course, he met this pretty girl on Instagram. And there was an exchange of pictures, and he said immediately they asked for $150. Without blinking an eye or without reporting it to his parents, he sent $150. Well, now they have him, right? They're like terrorists. You never give in to the terrorist, right? And this is the reason why. They said, all right, give me another 150. He goes, oh, another 150? Okay, but this is it. Okay, I'll send you another 150. He sent another $150. And then they go, we got this guy. We want $3,000. And then he went, $3,000, I don't have $3,000. And that's when he decided to report it. He actually went online and reported it. FBI has a online internet reporting mechanism. He reported it, and as an FBI task force officer, they reached out to me and said, hey, this individual reported this extortion attempt. He's already sent $300. They're asking for $3,000. And so I identified him. I made contact with him. He was a 15-year-old high school student. And luckily for me, he had all the information recorded. He took a screenshot of the conversation and the pictures and the threats that went back and forth. And so I have subpoenas out right now trying to identify where this person is located, right? I will tell you that 99% of all of these cases come back to one place in the world. Can anybody guess where that is? Lagos, Nigeria. It's the new Nigerian scam. These people sit on the other side of the world targeting young people here in America. And many times, these people will have some money or steal their parents' credit card, and just so their images don't get out there. And so it does happen. This next thing I'm about to show you is a news article explaining this. It's an epidemic, not just here locally, but throughout the world. Go ahead. One more click.
A warning for all parents and caregivers of kids. Criminals are targeting your children, threatening them in ways and often in ways that are already leading to a number of suicides, sadly. I-Team reporter Ginger Allen spoke to the FBI about the scheme that you should be aware of.
This scheme has been around for a while, but agents are worried that summer could bring on even more cases. Many of our children are out of school, they have less supervision, and the scary part about this is it can happen while they're at home, right under your nose, and you wouldn't have a clue.
He was a Boy Scout, a straight-A student.
17-year-old Ryan Last had big plans. The high school senior was visiting colleges, planning for his future, when he was approached by a stranger online.
Somebody reached out to him, pretending to be a girl, and they started a conversation.
The girl sent Last a nude photo and asked for one in return. As soon as he hit send,
they demanded $5,000 from him.
It's happening somewhere as we speak.
It's called sextortion. Criminals convince teens to send compromising photos or convince teens they already have the compromising pictures or videos of them. And then they force the teens to pay up to keep the images private. Dallas FBI agent Jim Dwyer says the scam can unfold at lightning speed.
We've seen where it goes from initial meeting to pictures being sent inside of an hour. And then they're almost immediately hit with a request for financial compensation.
The number of sextortion-related complaints has tripled in the last year. Here's what you should watch for. Hi, you alone? Yeah. And then you can see where this threat goes from there. In another case, the scammer claims to have compromising video, but is also trying to solicit pictures. What would be worse, take some pics or have everyone see the video? Federal agents say this is what is happening on virtually every popular platform. From social media sites such as Snapchat and Instagram.
I have found villages before.
To games, Roblox, and Minecraft. Anywhere that allows communication, you'll find scammers posing as teenage girls, because the biggest target right now is teenage boys. Agent Dwyer says most victims are 14 to 17 years old, but he's seen cases involving children as young as 8. The FBI says it's honor roll students, children of teachers, student athletes.
There are people out there who are looking to take advantage of them and don't care about their safety and don't care about their life for very little amount of money.
You need to talk to your kids.
Ryan Last's mother says he paid his scammers $150 out of his college savings. But the threats continued. The scammers wanted more money, or they would post the photo online and send it to his family members. It became so overwhelming. One night in March, Last committed suicide.
How could these people look at themselves in the mirror knowing that $150 is more important than a child's life? There's no other word but evil for me.
Experts say this scheme is especially dangerous to teenagers. Their brains are still developing. They can't see past that moment of shame, and they often will erase the evidence here out of embarrassment. And that's why parents, you must talk to your children. Experts say make it clear that they can come to you for help. And making this mistake is just not the end of the world. I'm Ginger Allen, CBS 11 News.
And I want you to realize that it may seem at the time, but it's not the end of the world, right? There's no reason to, take your own life. But they talked about the shame of it. People are deleting this information, then it becomes overwhelming. And then when you finally get law enforcement involved, I don't know who it was, I deleted all that stuff, or the parents get it, and out of desperation, they just delete everything, and they go, oh, we should have called the cops. And they call the cops, and we have a more difficult time trying to locate this person. The FBI has a task force that is dealing specifically with this group over in Nigeria. They've made some arrests, but once again, it's a problem. But it's only a problem because you allow it to be a problem. Like I said, and we kind of joke about it, but I want particularly the teen boys to realize this. There's no pretty girl on the internet that wants to see you naked, okay? So that is something that I think needs to be in the back of your mind. So the next slide. The reason I'm talking about all of this stuff is that everything you do online, with your friends, even the good stuff and the bad stuff, all the stuff that you're doing online is leaving behind breadcrumbs, leaving behind a digital footprint. And you may not realize it now because you're young and you're just putting information out there now, but I can tell you that if you decide to continue your education to get that better job, institutions and colleges are going to be looking into your background. And how do they do that? Well, of course, they're going to look at your grades, and they're going to have a conversation with you. You might even write a paper and say, look, I really want to come to your school, and this is the reason why. But they're also going to dig into your social media. They're going to Google you. They're going to look at your social media, and they're going to see things that you're even tagged in. Maybe you didn't post, but your friends did. And they're going to decide if you are the type of person that they want at their institution, at their college. And people are getting turned away because of their social media footprint. Employers, particularly at the sheriff's office, it's not just a background check, it's a social media check. Employers now are looking into your social media and seeing the type of person you are. I mean, everybody can fake it till you make it, right? You're in front of somebody, you put on that smile, and I'm just so glad to be here. I'm a hard worker, and this and that. And then they go to your social media, and you're cursing, you're underage drinking. There's fight videos of you. You're saying racist stuff on there. That's not the person that was just in my office, smiling and saying how much they're a hard worker and that they do anything to get this job. And so people are going to judge you from what you put online. So as we move forward, think about the things that you're sharing, obviously, and how that can come back to haunt you. But also kind of look at stuff that you've already got out there and see if you need to start cleaning up that information. This next and the last video that I'm showing here is about an 8-9 minute video, but it details about the breadcrumbs that you guys are leaving on social media and on the internet. And you guys, I want you to start thinking, you're at that age now, start thinking about some of the things that you're posting and you're putting out there on the internet. So this is the last video. If you could go ahead and play this.
Just one click. Well, teenagers are learning the hard way about the dangers of sharing too much.
Naked photos of themselves.
Sexually explicit pictures of
Sexting scandal.
From national headlines to hallways of local schools, technology has paved the way for teens and adults to create a dangerous digital footprint. One of the most widespread and destructive trends we see right now, sending and sharing nude pictures of yourself, also known as sexting. Research shows some pretty critical numbers here. 40% admit to sending sexually suggestive texts, and 20% actually admit to sending or sharing a nude photo of themselves. But then we ask students how many of their peers they think participate in this dangerous behavior.
Sex? Yeah. Like send nudes and stuff?
I would go with 5%.
I'd say probably about 50%.
75, 80%, honestly.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, it is.
With more and more teens owning one of these, a smartphone, we reached out, we asked what apps they are using to connect with others, whether it's innocent or not.
Instagram and Facebook.
Probably Instagram.
Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr.
Twitter.
Instagram a lot.
Twitter.
I use Twitter. I like using Twitter.
You use Twitter or Instagram, Snapchat?
Oh yeah, Snapchat, yeah.
Using Snapchat? Snapchat.
We all know pop culture glorifies Snapchat and sexting, but what it often doesn't reveal, the serious consequences that can follow.
One of the biggest problems I think with Snapchat is that people take it too casually.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times people, when they post on like Facebook or Instagram, they're looking for the amount of likes that they're gonna get, but you don't worry about that on Snapchat. And so, but 10 seconds is still enough time for somebody to screenshot it, and then they can do whatever they want with that screenshot.
Nude pictures can get posted wherever on the internet now. That is the power of social media, is to get information out. And if it is the bad information about you, it's sad and really unfortunate that people feel the urge to give in to it.
If you send someone one picture and they decide to save it instead of delete it, they have something on you.
You know, for sorority or Greek, fraternity, Greek life recruitment, social media can play a factor in that, into what houses may or may not want you, depending on what you post online. You know, as student athletes, there are a lot of expectations on how you perform on and off the field.
We have dropped many kids off our recruiting board because of their social media. We know if they're a fit for our university or not within 3 minutes of looking through their social media. And sometimes even guys on our campus frequent our offices because of things they put on social media. We have to monitor our own players. That's just one of our jobs, not just coaching football, but monitoring our own players' social media accounts.
Not just us, there's members of the administration at the university who are checking that as well. And so we'll get calls if we miss something. We'll get calls and saying, hey, your kid's got this up on this website. We need to take it down. And so it's not just us looking at it.
We often offer corrective advice when mistakes have been made on social media. And almost always, the mistake comes in this way. They think about themselves and their circle far too small. They feel like, I'm only interacting with one other person, I'm only interacting with 5 other people. And what is always the case with social media is, it's way more than that. And it has the ability to go far beyond all of that because of the way sharing occurs.
I think kids are having to learn the hard way that nothing just goes away. Somebody took a screenshot of it, somebody else saw it besides who you intended to see it, and we have had a lot of male and female students who have to deal with the consequences of sending nude photos, of sending sexually explicit things.
We send a detective out, maybe more than one detective, and we, interview kids. Start with the person who find who received the message or who found the message, and then just go from there, from person to person, to until we discover if it's valid or not.
When we're dealing with juveniles, what you're looking at is possibly child pornography, because those children are underage and they're actually distributing child porn when they're sending pictures of themselves or each other or other people. It doesn't matter if you're a high school student or not. If you're 18 years old and you were to possess child pornography, somebody sent you some pictures of a minor, even voluntarily, but then you pass those out or you hold on to them, you're in possession. If you pass those out, you've actually distributed child porn. We're talking about 10 to 30 years in prison as the range of punishment. Even if my office wanted to go easy on you at that point when you're an adult, the minimum you could do is be a convicted felon and a registered sex offender, even if you didn't do any jail time.
Whether it be sexting, cyberbullying, or creating an offensive, maybe a threatening post, your digital footprint impacts your reputation, your academics, even your future career.
Because I know so many people that did give into that in junior high and high school. They were forced to leave school because the school system wanted them out because of what they had sent to other people, and it got out to the parents and everybody, and it didn't look good for the school, and because of the social pressure that came after that, because everybody was talking, because kids in high school and junior high, they gossip a lot, and so they were talking like, oh, well, I heard so-and-so sent nudes and blah, 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 and it just got too much for that person, and they were forced to go to a different school because they couldn't handle the social pressure that came after their actions.
What you post can also impact your life down the road. Your digital footprint does not live and die with the day as your Snap story does. It continues beyond that day. And so to think more long-term in the content that you post and also the people that you engage with online.
People increasingly are getting information, not just from the initial conversation that we have, but they're going beyond that to figure out who you are as a person. And as you're shaping that, your social media content has huge influence on how people are viewing who you are, what you care about, what you're about. When we look at folks that are coming into the College of Education, there's a number of different data points that we look at to figure out, is this somebody who's going to be good with kids? Is this somebody that's going to be a great educator? And one of them is looking at that social media history. And if we see lots of photos that are showing a very different view versus maybe what we would see in an essay to talk about who I am and what I want to be, that dissonance really sort of challenges and limits the ability to get in. So if somebody has a dream of being a teacher, but every photo they've ever posted is in a negative kind of a consequence, this is probably not the right place for them.
We're looking at hiring somebody. Of course, there's traditional ways that we look at things, which would be references, and people would provide references. Today, it's different, right? Those things are posted on social media, and it's not as important to talk to a reference that you might personally pick out for an employer to talk to, when you can go on social media and see a reference real time.
Remember, your digital footprint matters, and it will follow you. Everything you do on that cell phone, your tablet, your computer can become part of a very public and permanent record. I think of it this way. With that picture or that post or that tweet, would I feel comfortable showing that to my grandma? If not, don't send it. Think twice. Abigail Ogle, KOCO 5 News.
Before you post that video, before you send that pic, think twice. Think about all the people that will see that video or that pic a day or two after, friends mostly. Think about all the people who will see it in the next couple of weeks. Family, principals, who knows? Think about all the people that will see it months, even years later. College admissions, college recruiters, future boyfriends, future girlfriends, relatives, parents. Ultimately, it's anybody with access to the internet.
Understand, even if you delete those messages, pictures, postings, your digital footprint remains and can remain forever.
Consequences do not end with shame and embarrassment. The legal consequences could follow you for a lifetime,
including loss of jobs, scholarship opportunities, employment opportunities, and indeed, legal matters that can extend even to felonies.
So think twice, please.
Think twice.
So I want to end. Internet safety generally is pretty easy to teach, right? It's like they said, think twice. Before you send that picture, before you send that tweet, before you send that DM, think, is this going to hurt someone? Is this going to make somebody think differently of me if they just read this or saw this picture that I've posted? So as we move forward through this digital world, and most of the time, your whole world is going to be digital as you move forward, be cautious of what you share and what you post. And don't ever allow someone to take advantage of you online and pressure you to do something obviously you don't want to do. And if that does happen, I want you to feel comfortable enough to talk to your parents, to talk to a trusted adult, to report this to law enforcement, because that's our job, to protect you. That's my job, to protect you. It's your parents' job to protect you. And if we don't know that something is affecting you and happening to you, then we can't do our job properly. So I want to thank everybody for their attention. And I will stick around. I know sometimes it's kind of hard to ask questions in an open environment, but if anybody has any specific questions to me, I will stick around if you want to talk to me in private or anything like that. But I will be available to you guys for an extended period of time before I leave here today. The last slide. On behalf of my boss, William Snyder, I want to thank you once again for your attention and allowing me to come here and share my information and my job with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let's have one more round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay, so students, we've been sitting for a while. Thank you for your rapt attention. This has been really important information. And some of it might feel like a lot. Like, wow, I didn't know that there was such a serious consequence to that little picture I sent, or those words I sent, or whatever the case may be. So, friends, I want you to know, if you're sitting here right now and knowing, oh gosh, I've done something I wish I hadn't done, or if you know maybe somebody who's made a mistake, what I want you to know is the reason we're sharing this information today is to help you moving forward, make the best decisions, but we also want to help you if there's been a place or a time when you made a mistake and you had no idea what the consequences were. So, scholars, please know, as your teachers, as your administrators, we are here to help you. If you need to share any information, I want to encourage you. Your parents are around to help you and support you. And if you need an adult to help you speak with them and share this important information that you learned today, like here are some steps you can take, please let us know that. We want to help you if any of this is making you feel like I've made a mistake and I need some help. I also want you to know Sophia and Will be around. They're going to come to lunch today. If there's anything you need to talk about, questions you have, anything you're uncomfortable about, please, please, please know. We love you. We care about you. We want your best. And so there's help, okay? There's help. And we also know that we serve a loving, gracious Lord who also forgives our sins no matter what they are, right? There's no, that's an okay sin and that's just a really bad sin. Like sin is sin, and that's why every single one of us need Jesus. So please know that, like there's no condemnation for those who are called according to Jesus, right? There's a way forward. There are adults to protect you, okay? So please walk away with that. So today we learned really important stuff. First of all, if you don't have the picture, you can't get in trouble. If you don't say the words, you can't, there's nothing that can harm you, right? We're gonna report, we're gonna talk to people. Talk, friends, talk. Please share anything that's bothering you, right? Got it? We good? All right. We love you. We love you. All right. All right. Great. So thank you so much. One more round of applause for Detective Brian. Thank you to Keith, and then I'm just going to dismiss this, but know that Sophia and Will be at lunch, and then we're all here for you, okay? We love you. Heavenly Father, thank you for equipping us today and teaching us and giving us some resources. And Lord, I just pray your hand of protection over every amazing scholar in this auditorium, over every family, every parent. We thank you for the parents that were able to attend today, and we just pray your great and glorious plans move forward with every